Okay, hello everyone and happy Friday. We have a lower body conditioning and strength session, which means we're going to start off with a warm-up, of course, and then we are going to get a nice conditioning circuit done, and then follow that up with our lower body strength work equipment that you will meet today. I'll be using my 8-pound dumbbells. Those loop bands there will come into play, as well as this here towel. We're going to use it for some sliding stuff on our floor. Of course, for those of us who do not have that as an option, if you're working on carpet, maybe you just simply don't have anything to slide on the floor, I have options for you. The other thing that you will need is your mat, and then of course your supportive footwear if you are going to be joining me on the high impact or jumping stuff. Okay, so let's get you guys started. We're going to start off right away with extending our arms over our head, reaching our hand towards our opposite foot, going through 10 of these total, alternating those opposites, trying to keep the leg as straight as possible. By no means do we have to touch the two. We're just going in that direction. Right side and left side, 10 of them total. Once we're done 10, we're going to keep the arms up there and switch that now behind the body, bending that leg, reaching towards that back heel. This one you might have a bit of a better chance actually making contact with touching that heel. We'll go through 10 of these total, once again alternating right and left. Once we're finished our 10, we're really going to mess you guys up because we're going front, front, back, back. That's one. We're going to do that 5 times total. So we'll alternate right side, left side, staying in place. I'm just turning so you guys can get all the angles to see what's going on here. So we'll go through this whole rotation 5 times, hopefully kicking that leg a little bit straighter, feeling that stretch through the hamstrings, the back of the leg. Good morning, brain. Good morning, body. Get that little bit of coordination going. As we come to an end on those ones, the next one you can bring yourself to the end of the mat, standing hip width apart. Soft knees, we're going to bring our hands down onto the floor, walk ourselves all the way down to this plank position. When we get here, we're going to lift the hips up to the ceiling, drop our heel and bend the opposite knee, feeling that stretch through the hamstring, the back of the calf. And we'll do 4 of these total. And then we're going back down into the plank, walking our hands back to our feet, standing up tall, and doing it again 2 more times. So once again, we're going to walk down to the bottom, getting down here, strong plank position, reach those hips up, drop heel, bending opposite knee, working with whatever range you have to feel that stretch, 4 of them, and then again, plank, walking back up to the top, standing up tall, and I'll get you guys to give me 1 more of those to make it 3 total of these walk outs. There you are. So we'll get that last one in, bring it up to the top, and then we'll separate our feet. You can step to the center of your mat, hip width apart, a little bit wider than hip width rather, toes slightly angled out to the sides. We're going to bring our hands behind our head and work with our squats, keeping our elbows up nice and high, chest up high, sitting down to 90 degrees, counting out 10 of these total. So we have this position on our arms so that we open up our chest and keep it nice and high as we sit down to 90 degrees, going through 10 reps total. These ones, we call them the prisoner squats, because we have our hands up behind our head. So we'll get going through 10. 10 of them, very nice, elbows back. Great work. Next one, we'll have to make sure that we have some space in front of us because we're going to step back into a lunge, and then we will step up and kick that leg, reaching towards that foot. So once again, we have this straight leg situation going on as we kick this leg up. Might be feeling a little bit looser than those first ones what we did with the opposite hand and reach. We're going through 10 of these total. Again, opposite arm is bending. And then we reach forward towards those toes. But again, we do not need to touch. We're just going in that direction. 10 of them, and then we'll switch. And we're going to get 10 going on the other side here. So again, looking for that stretching feeling in the hamstring, the back of the leg. There we go. A little bit of kicking action, prioritizing keeping that leg straight. So we don't want to kick so far that that leg is bending, the standing one, nor the kicking one. Keep them both as straight as possible. So we'll do this on both sides. 10 on this side, and then we will switch and get 10 on the other side of these lunges. There you are. 10 and 10. Once we're finished those ones, we're going to turn to the side so we have some space on one side of our mat. Stepping out into the side lunge, shifting back to that starting side, and then pushing ourselves up to the top will be 1 rep. And then we are going to go through 10 of these total, 5 to each side. So we're sending our hips back behind us, looking for that opening stretch in our inner thigh and our adductor. And again, we want to keep those hips reaching back so that our knee stays back rather than pushing forward. We want to stick the butt out the whole entire time. And then we'll push ourselves back up to the top. Arms can come in front of us to help promote our hips to go back. 10 of them. There we go. So this one now we'll feel, again, those adductors, those inner thighs opening up and not forcing anything, just working with that tense feeling, that tension feeling. And we'll go through 10 of those total, 5 on each side. And there we are. Okay, so we'll get through those ones. The next one is headed down onto the floor. We're going to get on down here into our all 4 position. Working with the bird dog, we want to make sure that we have some space around us on both sides because we are going to extend our opposite arm and leg and then reach it out and away from that midline, come back to the center, and then bring it in and put it down, and then we'll do the other side. So reaching up, and then we want to reach away from the body, center, and then we'll put it back down. That's 2. We're doing 20 of these total, 10 on each side. So trying to really separate the bird dog from that outward reach, center, and then we'll come back down and put her down, alternating sides. And again, making sure you're not too close to anything so that you don't kick anything or hit anything over with your hand or foot. We'll get you guys going through 20 of those. Now this one, we're feeling our core work. We want to draw our belly button to our spine. We're also going to feel some work happening in the glutes, waking up backside as we extend that leg out to the side. So we'll get through 20 of these total. Taking our sweet time with these ones. As you come to an end, don't get too excited about standing up because we have one more down here. We're actually going to flip on over to our back. So I'll let you guys finish that one up. That one does take quite a while to get through as we are doing 20 reps. And then once you are finished, we're going to flip on over into our bridging, hip bridging position. There you are. So we'll get through that one there. Once we're finished, and you'll join me on our back here, we want to make sure that we can feel our heels with a bit of a reach, but not without the reach. We're going to relax our shoulders and pull them down onto the floor. Make sure that our lower back is pushed down into the floor as well. Feeling our core work as we do that. We'll drive the hips up to the very top of this hip bridge, and then we're going to walk one leg up to this 90-degree position, and then we're going to put it back down, stabilize the hips so that they don't tilt or shift. Other leg comes up. That's 2 reps, and we are doing 10 of these total. That's 3. So we want to make sure that we're feeling that tense feeling in the glutes before we lift up that leg to help avoid the hips falling, as well as help avoid them shifting and tilting. We want to have no movement going on in the hips, just that one leg is going to lift. We're feeling, of course, a butt cheeks working, as well as our core and ab muscles are working hard on this one to keep us in that hip bridged position. 10 of these total. We have one more here on our back. So once again, once you're finished, you just relax your hips because we are going to push them right back up. Before we do that, we want to walk our feet close together so that they're almost touching. Same position in our back is very important. Anytime we're doing any sort of hip bridging, we're going to drive the lower back into the floor, push the hips up to the very, very top. One leg is going to come up. I'm going to take my opposite palm and squish it into this knee. So we know this one from our dead bug. We're trying to feel our abs and core work. And then we're going to drive the hips down, touching our lower back, not our butt. And then we go right back up into this single leg hip bridge. Hello. 10 of them on each side. The entire time we want to stay tight, between this hand and knee. So if I was to come through your screen and try to pull your hand off, it wouldn't happen because you are making that position there so fixed. We're doing 10 over here, and then we can switch on, and we'll do 10 over here. So again, we want to feel that low back coming down to the floor rather than your butt. Every rep on both sides. 10 and 10. So yeah, we're activating the glutes. We should feel that going on in your backside. We'll get that on both sides. And you guys can stand on up. Come on up here. And we are going to grab onto our towel, if you have it. So for this next one here, I'm going to stick you on a timer, which is always nice because it means that you don't have to count. We're going to be spending 30 seconds on each side, completing 3 rounds of this total. This is just going to be a running clock, so it's not going to beep or anything. I will be your beep and tell you when to switch sides. If you have this towel or the slider or whatever you're using, we're going to put it underneath one foot. If you do not have this, you're going to follow along. Just having your foot weight shifted into that leg, and then this foot very light on the floor. I'm going to use my towel though. Hinging the hips back so that we're feeling tight in the standing leg. This is going to be our working leg. I'm going to press start on this timer, and we are going to start to draw a circle with that foot there. Moving that foot, keeping no weight on it, trying our best to stay as loaded up in this standing leg as possible. So if you weren't feeling your glutes, your backside down there, we're really going to start to feel it up here on this one because that is the goal here. We're going to spend 30 seconds circling out and trying to keep all of the weight in this leg. If you don't have the towel, we're essentially sort of balancing. And if you need to sort of touch the floor a little bit, you can just tap each point in that circle if you're really losing your balance. And switch sides. Maybe 5 seconds extra on that side, that's okay. So we're going to go 30 seconds now on the other side here. We don't want to move that position. We want to make sure those hips are back, that hip is loaded. We're feeling the butte working as we draw these circles. So we'll go through the second side here, and we're going to do 3 rounds of this. As we come to an end here in 3, 2, 1, we'll switch back to that first side, going through our second set. I want you to go in the other direction. So if you don't remember what direction you went in, that's okay, just start circling out. But if you do, we'll try to work it here in the opposite direction. And again, we should be staying completely still in our body. You don't want to be moving or standing or having the hips come forward. Working through about 5 more seconds here. 3, 2, 1, and we'll switch sides back over to our second side for our second set. And then going in that same opposite direction. So again, if you're not using the towel, we're just trying to draw that circle with the foot, where you can, again, balance and just kind of move that foot around in that circle. There you go. We've got about 10 more seconds here. Burning hips, that's what we should be feeling, that work in the glutes. All right, so we're going to switch back to the first side. This time, what I want you to do is circle around, and then we're going to go back, going through both directions, switching when we return to that center point, all the way around right, and then back and left. And this is you guys for another 20 seconds. This is going to be our last set because we are probably really starting to feel the hips. That's what we're going for here. We'll let you go through a couple more of these each way. 5 seconds left. Oh yeah, 3, 2, 1, and we'll switch to that second leg doing that same thing. So again, circling one way, returning back to center, right and left. Again, trying to stay loaded in the hip, feeling that glute work. We've got 15 seconds left for you to do your thing here. Again, you should be feeling active in the back of the hips. 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1, and time. Very nice work. Okay, so we're going to take this towel and put it aside. I folded up my mat. I'm going to fold it back down because we are going to get you started on our first part of today's session, which is our conditioning circuit. Now, today, you are going to be on a timer, but it's going to be a time cap. We're going to spend 10 minutes going through the following 4 exercises, and you are in control of how many rounds you get. I'm going to give you a number of reps. Very simple today. It's going to be 10 reps on each. Some of them are single-sided, in which case we'll do 5 on each side. Starting off, I'm going to go through each of these movements. If you would like to kind of practice them with me, or you can just watch. If you want to save your energy, that's okay too. But I will not press start on a timer for maybe another minute. So do not start your official set until I say so. So first one, again, we're doing 10 on each, is going to be our squat jumps. So we're going to go through 10 reps of our squat jumps. For those of us who don't jump, we're just going to come up and shoot up onto the toes. 10 of these, okay? Very simple. That's the first one. Second one is going to be our off-knee bird dogs. Potentially the hardest one. We will see. So this one's down on the floor. We're going to pop off the knees and try to extend opposite arm and opposite leg into this bird dog. We're doing 10 of those total. And then we're going to stand up and go through the next one, which is our lunge jumps. So again, single-sided, 10 reps total. Same rules apply if you don't jump. You're simply just going to step back into the lunge, and again, 5%. Don't accidentally do 20. You won't want to anyways. Last and final one is once again back down on the floor. It's going to be our infamous break dancers. So once again, we're in our off-knee position. We're going to rotate and kick that leg through, bringing opposite hand to the chest. Again, doing 5 per side, 10 reps total. And by the end of it, you'll be all hot and heavy like I am right now by trying to do them and explain at the same time. Okay, so I will remind you of those movements. We are going to do this for 10 minutes. So you're going to get anywhere between 3 to 5, maybe even 6 rounds, depending on how much rest you take, which is, again, something that we will talk about when we're on this timer, which I'm going to start in 5 seconds, okay? So squat jumps up first. Ready or not. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. No starting beep, because it's just a time cap. Let's do it. So 10 reps of these guys, of our squat jumps. We're trying to land nice and soft, make little to no noise on that landing. 10 of them. Okay, so it's not too bad at first. Right down into our off-knee bird dogs. So I want you guys to get right down there, hovering off the floor, extending opposite arm and opposite leg. We know these ones are quite challenging, so if you need to, you can just do the legs, eventually add in the arms, as we talked about last time we did them as well. Very nice. Again, 5 per side, 10 total. Once you're finished, we're going to stand up and hustle right into our lunge jumps. Again, working with opposite arm, opposite leg, 10 reps, 5 per side. There you are. Okay, great work. And then lots of up and down. The up and down is absolutely part of the session. It's part of the work here. We're going to go into these break dancers. So kicking that leg out to the side, coming back to the center, and then switching right and left. Then we're doing 10 total, 5 per side. There we go. Again, taking your sweet time with these ones. More important than the speed is your control. We want to make sure that we're not just sort of falling side to side, but we're in full control the entire time. Now, my friends, we're going to do it again, but you can take a little bit of rest if you need to. As you finish those break dancers, if you're feeling extremely gassed, take about 30 to 45 seconds to yourself right now. You can grab some water, do a couple laps around your mat, okay? You don't necessarily need to go right into the next round, but that being said, you absolutely can. So if you're someone who, is feeling good, you're feeling ready, well then let's do it. Let's go right into our second set, back into those squat jumps, again, following 10 reps for each of these. We have just under 8 minutes, so plenty of time, okay, to get at least 3 rounds is what we need from you rather, but you might be getting upwards to maybe 5 or 6 rounds if you are, again, limiting your rest. And that is your choice. You can choose to rest, but we're not going to rest between these exercises, only at the very end, okay? So once you're finished those break dancers, that's when you can take that time to kind of regroup, grab some water. But when we're going through these 4 movements, we're trying to get them done as quickly, as efficiently as possible, pushing ourselves through the set, and then earning the rest at the very end. Okay, let's do it. 10 on each. Going through our second set. So we'll breathe through these ones, again, trying to have as much control as possible, especially on that floor work. We don't want to rush too much, as you might end up sort of falling over, especially on the break dancers. It does tend to happen. We have lots of time with it. We have 6.5 minutes left for you to get this in. Here we go. All right. So once again, as you finish up your final movement, you take a couple deep breaths, okay? You know for a fact that you're gonna have a stronger set if you feel ready, okay? So if you're feeling like your heart's racing out of your chest, or your legs are burning like crazy, then grab some water, okay? Try to take those deep inhale, exhales into your belly, calm yourself down a bit, and then you can do it again. So we'll try to get through at least 2 more rounds wherever you are now, because we are just over halfway. We have 5.5 minutes left of this 10 minutes that we are going to spend doing this. And this is all of the conditioning, the cardio work that we are going to do in today's session. So it's your little saving grace, although, yeah, it is not easy, especially the combination of the jumping work and the floor work. They really do complement each other, if that is the right word that I can use, and they really crank each other up a notch. All right, so we're halfway there. Very nice. So we'll keep working through this, fixing ourselves so that we can get through, again, this round, and then hopefully at least 1 more round. There you go, 10 on each. Very nice work. So I didn't really give you many options on making this easier. Kind of give you, of course, low impact options, but for the floor bird dogs and the break dancers, I really want you to see if you can work on that full version of them, which is why I didn't really give us too many regressions. Again, ways to make it easier. If you are really struggling down there, then what you can do is, again, simply take some more rest. So finish up your break dancers when you get there, and then take even upward to a minute if you need to just breathe, walk around the space that you have, because movement helps. You're just kind of standing still or, you know, heeling over like this. It's not going to help your body recover and, again, get the oxygen in that it needs to feel better, which I know it's what you want. So we have 3.5 minutes left. And again, we will see if we can get through 1 more full round of this stuff. There you are. Good work. So again, breathing through it, trying to exhale, especially on those off-knee bird dogs. Again, they are potentially the hardest one. We've been having lots of practice with these ones. So we're trying to breathe out as we send that arm and leg out. Okay, same thing with the break dancers. When you get there, we want to exhale as we kick that leg out and through over to the other side. If you aren't doing that, then we will think about it on our final set, or maybe our final 2 sets. If you want to try to push for 2 more rounds, which in theory, you have time for. We have 2.5 minutes left. There we are. Okay, so let you guys work through this. Trying to do it as best as you can, engaging your own rest. There we are. Okay, great work, my friends. You have 2 minutes, which is pretty much just enough time to get through 1 more entire round. Okay, so if you're just finishing up, we'll try our best to hustle and get started on our final set, hopefully within the next about 30 seconds, so that we can try to get through one more full round of this not so fun stuff. But we know it's good for us. Trying to get our heart rate up, that is the goal here. So hopefully you're feeling that way. I think you probably are. It's quite foolproof. You just keep working. Okay, minute and a half left. Let's wait. There you are. Nice work. Okay, strong finish. Get those bird dogs done. Your last set of them. So we'll try to finish them nice and strong with as much control as possible. 60 seconds, my friends. Let's do it. Last minute that we are going to be doing this. After this, it's all nice, slow strength work, which for some of us might be harder than the conditioning. I don't know, we'll see. Not me, but maybe you. 40 seconds left. Okay, so we'll get through those bird dogs, those break dancers. As you finish them up, you can either rest, or if you're feeling ambitious, you can try to go right into the next set and just see how far in you can make it within the next 25 seconds. Okay, but again, you can absolutely just use this time to rest, grab water, try to calm and cool yourself down, because that's what we're going to do the next 2 minutes after this timer goes off in 10 seconds. All right. Strong finish. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and time. Okay, very nice work. So we are done that part, which is good news for most of us. It's not easy, but we are done. So right now we are going to calm ourselves down. You can keep moving around the space that you have, do a few laps around your room, around your mat. The goal here is to bring us down to a more normal level that we can maybe hold down a conversation. If I was asked what you're doing today, you can actually answer without huffing and puffing out of your chest. Grabbing water helps, and again, trying to take those deep breaths, the ones into our belly, not the shallow chest breaths. What we're going to do now is move on to our strength supersets. We're going to be working with 3 different pairs of exercises. Starting off with this first one that is going to incorporate a hamstring curl using our towel. So that's actually going to be the second part to the superset, but I wanted to tell you about it so that you can get set up for it. First off, we're going to have a single leg deadlift. That's going to start us off. And then we're going to lay on our back and work with a hamstring curl with our heels on this towel, pulling in those heels towards our hips. So if you need to grab that towel, of course, I have a wonderful option for those of us who do not have the towel. I actually have a couple options. Let's start off with this first movement, our single leg deadlift. What we're going to do is preferably have one heavier dumbbell. So I'm going to actually stack my 2 dumbbells together to create this heavier 16-pounder. Holding it on one side, I'm going to shift the weight into the opposite leg and balance. That's part of the deal for this first movement. We're going to stand up tall with a soft knee and work on hinging our hips back behind us, feeling that stretch through the back of the legs. And then we'll stand, slightly drive this knee forward so that we feel work happening on that glute on the standing leg. We're working through 12 reps on each side. So you can start your first set when you're feeling ready. If you still need another 30 seconds to a minute, that's completely fine. Again, we want you feeling okay before you go into this step. So we're doing 12 on this side. Strong arm, that's not holding the weights. 12 over here. And then we'll switch and we'll do 12 on the other side. For those of us who don't have dumbbells, what we're going to do is use a glute band wrapped underneath that foot. You can always even add more than one band if you want to challenge yourself. And then same rules apply. We're trying to slightly drive the knee forward and work with our 12 and then our 12. Okay, so we'll get through this first round. of these single leg deadlifts. We're going to feel work happening, of course, in the glute as well as in our hamstring down the back of that leg, which we are definitely going to feel as we add in our second movement, which is going to be our hamstring curl. So right off the bat, I'm going to be showing you, of course, that towel hamstring curling option. Other ways that we can do this, we can go ahead and stand up a dumbbell, lay down on our tummy, grab the dumbbell between our feet, and pull up to 90 degrees in a prone or tummy laying position. We're working with 12 reps total. For those of us who do not have dumbbells, maybe you don't have a towel that you can slide on the floor, what I would like you to do instead is same laying on our back position. We're going to bridge up the hips, and then we'll walk out the heels, and then we'll walk them back in, and that's 1, and we're going to do that 12 times total. Okay, so this is for those of us who don't have a towel to put underneath our heels, that we can slide in and out like so. This one, hopefully I made it look easy, is not easy, and it actually can become a little bit unsafe for some of us. So if you're feeling like this is too much work for the hamstrings, what you can work on instead is hips up. We're going to send the heels out and then relax the hips, pull back in, and then reset to that top position. We can go through our 12 reps like this if we don't feel comfortable with just pulling in the towel with our hips up in the air. If you're feeling like it's going to pull, it's going to tear in the back there, then don't do it. Okay, I want you to do something that you feel comfortable with, but challenged in. Okay, so we're going to follow through 12 reps total on this one. As we come to an end of our 12 reps of the hamstring curls, we're doing it again, but before we do, we shall take some rest because we have very similar muscles worked in these two exercises, aka your hamstrings, which you are most likely feeling a lot. So we're going to take 30 to 45 seconds rest. Then we can grab some water, take those deep breaths before we go into our next set. And we are completing 3 rounds. So you just did 1. We are going to do 2 more sets total, okay? So we'll take this time now. You should be feeling like you need it. And if you're not, then let's try to make this next set a little bit more challenging for ourselves. Most of us don't have an option to grab heavier weight. So what we can think about is adding more time under tension. So for our single deadlifts, we'll simply take more time to get to the bottom of the rep. Keep that up phase nice and strong, but we can count out our slow eccentrics, which have been quite a theme this week. That lowering phase in our exercises, we can slow that down, and that is going to, again, make the weights that you're using feel like they are heavier without actually making them heavier. All right, so we'll start the second set. Again, we want to make sure that we have that strong position in our core because we're holding the weight on one side rather than one dumbbell on each. Right away, our core is working because if it wasn't, we'd be flopped over like this. So you can think about that the entire time, trying to draw your belly button into the spine and hold that strong position through all of your 12 reps. There we go. And the glutes and the hamstrings, and let's do it on our second set. Okay, so we'll get through 12 and 12. There we are. And whatever equipment you're using, whether it is the dumbbells or the bands, we've done a lot of single leg deadlifts, but I will remind you, you're not really feeling it in the standing leg. That's our working leg. You should feel it in the glute especially. You might accidentally be sort of opening up the hips. So we want to remember to push that hip down, close the hip, or you can take the back foot and aim it down towards the floor. Both those things achieve the same goal, which is to align our hips with each other. Rather than having that sort of opening position, this is going to allow us to work that glute a lot more and directly than if we're opening up. So maybe something to think about on your final set. Because you're probably done your second set, we'll get the hamstring curls in, 12 of them. And we have our options that we can go through. We'll try to do the same thing we did on the first set. And then we will rest a little bit and go through our final round of these two. And move on to the next two. There we go. So same rules apply for the hamstring curls. If you're doing the dumbbell or the towel hamstring curl, if you're kind of stuck in between, especially on this one, if you're stuck in between doing it with your hips all the way up like this and dropping your hips down and pulling back in, you can take more time to get your feet out into that straight position. You'll feel the tension and the work it takes, and then you can pull it back in, and that's going to allow you to get stronger in the hamstring so that one day you can actually do this and pull in and feel strong, not like you got to pull anything. Again, we're trying to avoid that feeling. Okay, so then we'll rest a little. We have one more set, and then we are moving on to these two. From all the hamstring work. Okay, so we'll grab some water, and we will do it again for the final round. Single leg deadlifts, 12 and 12. And then we have our curls, 12. And that's it for our first of 3 supersets that we are going to work through. There we are. Perfect. So again, we'll try to work on and squaring off that hip, thinking about that standing leg. And we want to really focus on pushing the hips back, pulling them forward rather than just letting the weights down. The more we can get that hip hinge going, the hips back, the hips forward, the more work you're going to get in the behind, which is the goal. That's what we're looking for on this one. Okay. So we have some time with it. We have about 3 minutes until we really should be moving on and starting our second strength superset. So we'll take our time, and I talked about those slower, lowering phases. That is absolutely something that you should think about if you're not feeling challenged by the end of the 12. Because remember, anytime I give you a rep number, that is it. I don't want you thinking that you could do 15 or you can keep going after 12. 12 is it. So we'll try to do what we got to do in order to make that feel challenging for ourselves, because we all have different stuff and equipment and levels of strength. And so we have to go off of a feeling more than anything else. Okay, let's get it. So about 2 minutes, just under that, to finish up our final round, the third set. It's always nice doing 3 sets. Very oftentimes we'll do 4. Maybe on some of these we have 4. But this is going to be our last one. So once again, we'll try to challenge ourselves on these hamstring curls. Going through our 12 reps. So we have about 60 seconds left. If you are finishing up early, if you're already done, or if you finished before that minute is up, we shall just rest. You can grab some water, sit down there for a second, contemplate your life, stand up, walk it off, and get yourself ready for our second part, which is going to use all of this stuff still, including our slider, our towel, if you have it. Don't, I got you with the non-sliding option. All right, so about 30 seconds left, and we'll rest. Hopefully we are feeling worked in the hamstrings. That was our intention for this first superset. Moving on to the second superset, all about the glutes, the butte, which seems to be a theme for us. We are going to be starting off with a reverse slider lunge. So if you have this towel, I folded it up into a smaller set than I did have it on the hamstrings. What we're going to do is work with a slider reverse lunge where I'm pulling myself up to the top, sliding this foot back 90 degrees at both of my knees. We're going through 12 reps is our number to be for these ones as well. Those of us who don't have the slider, it's all good. What you're going to do is step back into the lunge and think about pulling yourself up. The nice thing about the slider is that you cannot use the back foot to push out of that lunging position, because you'll just slide out, which we don't want. So you have to really rely on that front leg to pull yourself up. So if you don't have this, then you're just going to really focus on that, sort of taking that back leg out of the picture and pulling it up to the top. We are preferably going to weight this, okay? So if you're feeling good, if you tried some of those on each leg, what you can do is grab dumbbells. We're going to go even positioning, so one dumbbell on each side, stepping back into that lunge, and then again pulling ourselves up to the top, going through 12 reps on each side. So we're working through 12 over here, 12 on the other side. When you're ready, you can start your first set. And again, same rules apply. If you do not have the dumbbells, what we'll do is loop that band underneath the foot and then work with a banded resistance rather than our dumbbells. And that being said, some of us might even want to do this body weight. This is much harder than it looks with the slider. And if you feel challenged in your 12 without weights, it's completely okay. But this is not our first day at the rodeo doing these ones, so you might feel like you need those weights in order to make that 12 feel hard, which is always the goal, that number. So we'll work through these on both sides. We are going to pair this with a squat. So as we finish up those lunges, what we're going to do is front load our weights and widen up our feet into our sumo stance. So we want to be wider than our squat stance. We have that angle out in our toes. Weights are in front of us, but they're not resting on our chest. We're going to sit down into that sumo squat, which is that wide position, trying to push the knees out over the pinky toes, 90 degrees. And then we stand up to the top, working through 15 is our number for these ones. So we want to make sure we're getting all the way down and that we have that strong outward position in our knees. They're pushing our knees out over the pinkies, not allowing them to fall in at all. So we'll work through these ones, 15 of them. Again, we want to make sure that we're getting down to 90 degrees. By having this wide position and this angle on our toes, we're getting much more emphasis on the sides and the backs of our hips than if we were just in a normal stance with our normal angle on our toes. So that's why we're out here working through this one. Again, if you don't have weights, you can simply just work with body weight, trying to get down to 90 degrees. But ideally, you want a little something in your hands to make this a bit more challenging. Now with these ones, we're going to skip the rest. No rest in between these sets. We're working through 3 more rounds. So we have 4 sets total. Going right back into that first one. Our slider, reverse, lunges. So as soon as you're finished your sumos, let's do it again. Whether we like it or not, right back into our slider reverse lunges, 12 and 12. So again, we should be focusing on the back of the hips. If we're feeling a lot of work in our quads and the front of the thighs, what you can think about is, again, pushing the hips back a bit more, trying to keep this knee back rather than having this upright position and pushing the knee forward. That's going to make me feel a lot in here. So we'll go like this, maybe send that foot back a little bit more, and you should feel that direct work in the back of the hips, because you already know that that's what we're going for in this superset. All right. Yes, and maybe this one sort of slightly gets our heart rate up a little bit more than the last one, because we are not taking any time in between our rounds. We have such high reps. Okay. So we'll get through the second set. Again, 12 on one side, 12 on the other side. There you go. And pulling ourselves up. We're using the slider or the non-slider version. We're trying to really focus on this front leg, pulling ourselves up out of that bottom position. And that's where we want to use our exhale. So remember that exhale is our power. So as we sit down, we want to breathe out, exhale us up to the top. And that just might be a little something that you need to get through your next couple sets. Okay. So we'll get these sumo squats going, and making sure we're wide, but not too wide. If we're too wide, you can kind of do a little assessment on yourself. As you sit down, we should see that the knees are pushing out in line over top of the ankles. So here you can see that my knees are sort of sitting inside my heels. in which case I'd step it a little bit more narrow so that I can have that knee over ankle alignment, which is going to be just a lot safer for our knees. As soon as we have that inward motion here, we're first of all not going to be able to use our hips as much. We're also putting a lot of unnecessary stress on our knees. And lots of us, all of us really, have different lengths of our legs, different positioning in our hips, just the way our bodies are built. So you might just have to do a little check on yourself, look down and make sure that you can see that you're in that proper alignment. There you are. And of course, we don't have any mirrors in our homes usually. So just looking down and checking yourself is the best way to make sure you're in the right place. Okay, 2 more sets. Yes, the 4 rounds. The good news is this is kind of a longer superset. The next one, we're back to our 3 sets. So I'll try to just breathe through this, get through this, plus the addition of no rest. Yes. Let's get it. Okay. So we'll start right away on that 3rd set. The sliders. Very nice. Okay, so again, 12 and 12. Again, legs. Awesome. Okay, so our 2nd last set, we'll try to keep it as consistent as we can as to what we did on the 1st and 2nd set, even though we're probably getting more tired. Our legs are starting to burn a lot more than they did on the first 2 sets. And that is for a couple of reasons. Number one, again, fatigued from using the leg muscles, but also the fact that we are limiting rather than taking out the rest. That's how we should be feeling, is that these sets are getting progressively harder as we go. So if you're feeling that way, you're doing a great job. All right, so we'll get going on those sumos. And sometimes we simply just need to think about pushing the knees out more to the sides and hitting that 90 degrees is important. If I'm just squatting up to this position, I'm not going to get nearly as much as if we go all the way down. We don't have to go lower than 90 degrees. We want to make sure we're hitting that point every rep. Unless you have some sort of pre-existing knee issues, in which case you probably already talked to me about them and I've told you that you can always sit above 90 degrees. But for most of us, get your butt down there. 15 reps for all of them, as much as you might not want to. So we have 1 more set, and we have about 2 minutes to finish up, which is pretty much just enough time for you to get going right into it. Okay, maybe a very quick sip of water, and then we shall do it again for our final set on these 2. Okay, so strong finish, last set, 12 and 12, 15 sumos. And then we are moving on to the last part. Coming up after this, look at us go. We are almost there. Very close. Okay. So breathe through these. Oh yeah, trying to do the same thing we did on the last set. Yes, with our tired legs. And you should be feeling the back of the hips a lot by now. There you go. Okay, so final round. Breathing through these reps. You're gonna need to use your exhale now. Especially on this last round, we are getting very tired. As we're finishing up, I'll give you about 1 more minute. If you're done before that minute is up, same thing as the last time, you can just rest, walk it off, grab some water. We have no time to do that between our sets, so enjoy it. And then we are going to be moving on to our final superset after this one. So once we're finished this final round of the lunges and the sumos, we are done with our sliding towel situation. So I laid my mat back down. We are going to move on to our final 2 movements that we're working through. The first one that we're going to get you guys going on, I'm going to start talking about it now. So if you're still finishing up, keep going. Side lunges. We're going to be working with a static side lunge. So we want to get ourselves pretty much into that same sumo position, maybe even a little bit wider than that sumo stance. We're going to hold a weight or 2. So I hold 2 dumbbells or 1 dumbbell sideways in my hands in front of me here. Working with a side lunge where I shift over to one side and then I come all the way up to the top, over to the other side, and then all the way up to the top. So in terms of what weight you're using, really depends, of course, on the weight options that you have for your dumbbells. We don't want to go too heavy, so we're holding the weights in front of us so that they sit inside the legs. As we go into these side lunges, we want an angle on our toes, which you can sort of play around with to make this more or less comfortable. We want, of course, it to be comfortable, getting down into this position and then pushing all the way up into the top. And if you feel like your weights are a little too heavy, you can put one down and just hold 1 dumbbell sideways like this. And we are doing 20 of these total. So 10 on each side, coming all the way up to the top between every single rep. We want to stand tall. So we go down and then we come up so that we're not sort of staying down in this position, but we're driving the hips all the way through to the top. 10 on each side, 20 reps total. So when you're ready or not, we're going to start this set. It's going to be our first of 3. So we're going to have to do this 3 times total. It's our first one. So we'll get you going through that one there. 20 of them. And then we are going to pair this, of course, with another movement, which is, it's been a minute since we've done this one. We're going to be working with a wall sit. Now, some of us don't have a wall to sit on. Maybe you just don't want to sit against your nice white house wall, and that's completely fine. But if you do have a wall, what we're going to do is get into this wall sitting position, holding 90 degrees in this more narrow stance. And we're going to be working with lifting up the toes one at a time. So right and left, counting out 20 alternating reps. So 10 per side of this toe lift, which is a lot harder than it looks. Don't underestimate it. We want to limit the movement in our upper body. So I'm holding and bracing onto the wall. For those of us who don't have a wall, it's all good. You're still in that narrow stance. We're going to sit down into the squat, and you're going to work with pulses rather than those toe lifts, as we simply just don't work on the squat hold. So we're working with 20 of these little up and down pulses. Woo! For the burning quads is what we're going to feel on this wall sit and or squat hold. 20 of them. And then again, we repeat with little to no rest. So as you finish up your last one there, we are going to go right into our second set of those side lunges. So again, a couple deep breaths, maybe a very quick sip of H2O, and then we will go right into our second round, back into these side lunges, trying to shift the hips to the side, sending the hips back behind us, just like we practiced in the warm-up. Those side lunges, you want to stick the butt out so that the knee stays back. It's not driving forward over the toe. And you come all the way up. Not as important as to hit 90 degrees. You have to be quite flexible to get all the way down there, so it's okay if we're kind of sitting above this. But we are looking for that stretch in the adductor, and then the work should feel the backside pushing us up to the top on those 20 reps. Let's do one. For the second last time. Then we have this set, and we have one more, and we are done. We have a couple stretches that we are going to put you through, which are going to feel very good after all the stuff that we're doing right now and that we have already done. So we'll get through this. Side lunges, we'll go right into our second set of that wall sit or that squat, pulsing squat hold. Going into the second round, trying to just breathe. Know that that burning sensation in your quads, woo, it's part of the deal. That's what we're going for here. So we should feel that going on in the legs, and pretty much all of us will without having to think about much of anything. If you do, for some freak reason, want to make this more challenging, either one of these, whatever option you have, the wall option or just the squat holding option, slow the heck down, okay? Because if you take longer to go through those toe lifts or longer to go through those pulses, your legs are under that tension longer. It's going to make them burn more. It's going to make it a lot harder, which some of us probably don't need to think about, but a few of us might in order to really get that burn going on. Okay, so we have one more round. Hallelujah. Last set. Okay, the final set of these two. The sad lunges, the wall sit, and then we are done the work. We just have a couple stretches, which we will need to do after this stuff. Okay, so we'll go through our final set of these guys here. Again, 20 reps, 10 per side, trying to stick the butt behind us. It's absolutely okay if your upper body comes forward slightly, as that's much better than you staying upright and having the knee drive forward. Highly prefer the hips back, chest down, over anything else. There you go. All right, so we have 2 minutes. Pretty much like 2 minutes left in our session. But I'm going to give you 2 more minutes to finish up the lunges, the wall sits. And then we shall go through a couple of stretches together today. So we get them done. It's going to help loosen us up after all the stuff we did to tighten us up. Awesome work. Okay, so we'll take our time with it. Finishing strong, just as strong as we started. The very beginning of today's session, the very first exercise we did, I want the same energy here. Even though we are tired, exhausted, our legs are all done, but we're going to push through this last set of this wall sit, this pulsing squat hold, 20 burning reps. And if you do them nice, slow, and controlled, you're going to feel way better after you finish the rest of the weekend, knowing that you gave it all you got. Okay, so let's work through this 20, and then you are done. Woo! So as you're finishing up, I know some of us are done. Take your time if you're not done. We are finished the strength work, so we're going to just take some time to breathe a little bit. You can grab some water, all the stuff that we had no time to do between our sets. We are going to go through 2 stretches together. The first one is down on the floor. Actually, they're both down on the floor. But we're going to get down into our 90-90 position for this first stretch. So, good job, first of all. That was not easy from the conditioning to those strength supersets, but you are done. So hopefully you feel good. If you don't, you will in a little bit once we've kind of loosened everything up and maybe ate and had a shower and all that stuff. What we're going to do is focus on stretching the quad, which you're probably still feeling from the wall sit, on the leg with the inside of the knee facing down. So again, this 90-90 position, some of us might have to lean back a little bit in order to make this comfortable. But what we're going to do is take this foot and pull it in so that our heel is as close to our butt as we can get it. And then I'm going to turn away and put both my hands on the floor. Actually, just need a little bit more room. This wall's kind of in my way. We're going to turn away and sort of push this hip forward. And we're going to get a nice opening stretch through the front of this quad. If you need more stretch, you can simply turn away a little bit more. And again, we'll feel that opening quad stretch in the front here. And we're going to hold this for about 30 seconds. So everyone, again, all our bodies are different. So you might have to sort of play around, turn your hips in a little bit more in order to feel this going on. But in theory, we should all be getting that nice opening stretch down the front of the quad. If you need a little bit more also, you can pull this foot in a little closer, even hold it in place. And we're going to just hold this and breathe into it. A couple more deep breaths, and then we will switch and do the other side. So again, it should not be painful. If you're feeling pain, we're just going to sort of ease off the stretch a little bit. And we'll release that. switch over to the other side, and we'll do the same thing on this side here. So we'll pull in this foot, turn our body away, feeling again that opening stretch through the quad, and we will hold it here for about 30 seconds. Breathing into this. And holding, relaxing into the stretch. Trying to get that same feeling that you got on the first side. It feels quite nice after all of the stuff we did for the legs. So we'll take a couple more deep breaths, and then we have one more stretch that we're going to do, which is all about the back of the hips, because we did a lot of work back there. So you can release out of this one, and I want you to position yourself, preferably with a wall down by your feet, so that we can go like this, put our ankle on the opposite knee, and just sit here and relax into this nice opening hip stretch. Now, for those of us who don't want to put our feet on our wall, I get it. What you can do instead is not be near your wall, your nice white wall. We're going to reach through and grab that foot and pull it in towards us. And hold this stretch here. Now, I prefer the one with the foot on the wall because we can kind of just relax into it. You don't have to actively pull in. And you can make it more or less stretch really simply by either moving closer to the wall to get a deeper stretch or moving further away from the wall to get less stretch. So once again, we're going to hang out here for 30 seconds on each side. And again, we should be feeling that glute. So we got all that work in stretching out the back side. So we'll hold this here, breathing into it. A couple more deep breaths. Okay, so we'll switch sides. You can bend up that other ankle to the knee. And same thing, if you were pulling in, of course we'll pull in on the side as well. Or we'll just relax into the stretch. Okay, very nice. So we're just going to do these two stretches together. That being said, if there's any other stretches that you want to do, including even maybe doing another set of this one or the last one that we did, I'm going to talk about two other ones. We're not going to do them together, but you might want to do them because they're just simply going to feel good after the stuff that we did today. So this is for the glutes. Again, the next one that you could potentially do if you would like, if you want to make yourself another maybe 5 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes for your stretching, is this bow and arrow stretch. So you can work with this one here, which is going to help us. Same thing, we can hold this for about 30 seconds, even upward to a minute. You can do both sides. And then the last and final one that you may or may not, the hamstrings. Because again, we did all that work back there. You can separate your feet, sit up, and then just walk your hands in between your heels or as close as you can to that position. Feeling that tight, tense feeling in the back of the legs. Again, no pain. You should just feel tension. Okay, so you can go in and do these two stretches if you would like, or you can just stop and get on with your day. Completely up to you, but you, my friends, are done with me for the week and for the day on this Friday. So hopefully you feel good, and hopefully you have a great rest of your day and a great weekend, and I will see you next time. And thank you, Carly, for hanging out in the Zoom room. Hopefully you feel good, and I will catch you next time. And my replay watchers, thank you guys. If you're still watching this, if you're still here, drop a comment below so I know you were here, and I will catch you guys next week. Okay, see you guys later.